On the morning of June 6, 2025, Albert Ojwang, a 31-year-old blogger from Homa Bay County, was arrested by police officers who accused him of defaming the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Eliud Lagat. That was through a social media post. Rather than them detaining him at a local station, the officers transported him over 400 kilometers away to Nairobi Central Police Station. This unusual decision immediately raised suspicions among observers and the right groups. It is in Nairobi cell that, just 2 days later, Ojwang would be found dead. Initially, the police released a statement claiming that Albert had died by suicide, alleging that he hit his head against a cell wall in what was described as self-inflicted injury. However, this version of events quickly began to unravel. The Independent Policing Oversight Authority, that is IPOA, Kenya Civilian Police Watchdog, launched its own investigation and conducted, that is, a post-mortem examination. Their findings painted a very different picture. The autopsy revealed that Albert had suffered severe head injuries, neck compression, and deep soft tissue trauma. Consistent with physical assault, not suicide, IPOA confirmed that 5 police officers were directly involved in Albert's arrest, transfer, and custody. Meanwhile, back in Homa Bay, Albert's father, an elderly miner who had raised his only son through sheer determination and hard labor, was devastated. He had traveled to Nairobi carrying a title deed, his last valuable asset, hoping to use it as a bail security to secure Albert's release. Instead, he arrived to find that his son was already dead, visibly broken. He told the press that he had hoped Albert would one day support him in his old age, that his dreams now lay in ruins. As the contradiction between the police account and IPOA's findings spread across the country, outrage erupted on the 9th of June. Youth-led protests broke out in Nairobi and other towns including Kisumu, Eldoret, and Nakuru. Protesters carried placards demanding justice for Ojwang and condemning police brutality. The police responded with tear gas, just as they had during the deadly 2023-2024 finance bill protest, where several Kenyans lost their lives. Human rights groups like Amnesty Kenya and the Law Society of Kenya condemned the state handling of Ojwang's case, calling it part of the larger pattern of impunity and extrajudicial killings. The public's anger intensified with the belief that Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat was the same officer allegedly, that is, defamed by Ojwang, may have had a role in orchestrating the arrest and possibly more. While no evidence has directly tied Lagat to Ojwang's death, the fact that the blogger was transferred from his rural home to Central Police Station far from his residence for such a minor accusation raised serious red flags. These concerns are echoed in whispered conversation online, in slums, and in university campuses where youths have become increasingly vocal. Despite growing pressure, President William Ruto, the President of Kenya, remained silent for days following the death. It wasn't until June 11, 3 days later, after the death of Ojwang, that he addressed the nation, acknowledging that the blogger died at the hands of the police and calling the death heartbreaking and unacceptable. Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen echoed this, promising that investigation would be independent and free of political interference. At the same time, Police Inspector General Douglas Kanja retracted the earlier suicide claim and formally endorsed the IPOA findings during a Senate hearing. However, critics have questioned why these top officials remained silent until civil pressure reached critical mass. Adding fuel to the public frustration was the silence of opposition leader Raila Odinga. Despite his long-standing image as a champion of civil liberties, Odinga has not commented publicly on Ojwang's death. Protesters accuse him of abandoning the people, suggesting that his role in the so-called broad-based government has compromised his moral authority. Many feel that his silence reflects the dangerous coziness between opposition and state power. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, who is an ex-deputy of Kenya, also came up under fire for failing to speak up, especially given his past rhetoric against extrajudicial killings. Though he has spoken against police excesses in earlier incidents, he has yet to make a specific statement on Ojwang's case. Parliament took up the matter on June 11, where lawmakers tabled and passed a motion condemning the death of Ojwang and demanding a full investigation. A number of MPs called for criminal charges against the officers involved and the publication of IPOA's full report. While the motion passed with strong cross-party support, some netizens remain skeptical of Parliament's willingness to follow through with concrete reforms. They recall similar debates during past police killings that ultimately led nowhere. As of now, 5 police officers have been suspended in connection with the case. IPOA has confirmed their involvement and investigation are ongoing. However, no criminal charges have yet been filed. Many Kenyans fear that the case might be swept under the rug. Like many others before it, call for police reforms have grown louder, with demands for stronger civilian oversight, transparency in the investigation, and swift prosecution of rogue police officers. Albert Ojwang's death has become more than a personal tragedy. It is a symbol of the systemic failures in Kenyan justice, law, and enforcement system. Albert Ojwang's death has become more than a personal tragedy. It is a symbol of the systemic failures in Kenya's justice and law enforcement systems. It highlights the dangerous combination of unchecked police power, political silence, and the vulnerability of citizens who try to speak out. History has awakened a wave of resistance, especially among young people who see in him a reflection of their own fragile position in society. As the dust continues to rise, the public waits not just for justice of Ojwang, but for answers to deeper questions about accountability in Kenya. Will this case become another forgotten headline, or will it be the sparks that finally forces lasting change in the corridors of power? For now, all that remains are the words of a grieving father, a nation on edge, and a name, Albert Ojwang, that has become a rallying cry in the fight for truth and justice.
Mimi nashukuru wale wachukua hatua kwa ajili ya kufanya postmortem. Maneno yangu hata ni machache tu, sina maneno mengi. Naibu mkuu wa polisi Bwana Eliud Lagat, wewe ndiwe uliyetumana watu wako ma-DCI waje nyumbani, waje wachukue mwanangu ili wamlete Nairobi. Kama mkuu wa polisi naibu, kwa heshima ambayo ninaheshimu nayo katiba ya nchi hii yetu ya Kenya, pamoja na heshima ninayopatia watumishi wa serikali ambao wanatumikia nchi hii yetu, nilipeana kijana wangu kwa heshima hiyo mkononi mwako, maana nilipata habari kupitia kwa watu uliowatuma waje wamchukue yeye. Baada ya kukabidhi huyu mtoto kwako, maana hawa ni watu uliowatuma tu, leo hii matokeo inatokea kwamba mtoto wangu amekufa kwa majeraha ya kupigwa. Nahitaji unieleze kwa nini ulimuua mtoto wangu. Kupitia kwa sheria ukaseme kwa nini ulimuua mtoto wangu. alikukosea nini ambayo inagharimu kifo chake? Watu wanaongea kuhusu mambo ya ufisadi, hata ni wengi kabisa katika nchi hii yetu. Kwa nini mtoto wangu peke yake asulubiwe kwa ajili ya neno la ufisadi ambayo inahusu nchi nzima, abebe, na ni mtoto wangu mmoja wa kipekee? Sasa nimebaki mkono mtupu. Nana atanielekeza katika maisha iliyobakia? Mtoto wangu nimemsomesha kwa taabu katika kaunti ya Kilifi kwa kazi ya Kware, nikijinyima kwa ajili ya mtoto wangu kusoma. Alipohitimu nilikuwa nina matumaini, ndiposa nikatoka huko nikirudi Nyanza nikae nyumbani, kwa sababu mtoto amefika mahali pa kunishika mkono. Sasa leo hii umenivunja mkono, umeniua. Kwa nini uniue? Unanidai nini? Amekuibia nini? Haya ndio maneno ambayo nataka niongee kwako Bwana Eliud.
Baada ya ripoti hii mzee wangu, na jana idara ya polisi ilitoa taarifa, lakini leo hii wewe unazungumza baada ya kupata ukweli ambao ulifanyikia mtoto wako. Ukipata nafasi ya kuzungumza na utawala wa taifa, pengine rais, mkuu wa polisi Kanja, ushazungumza na Bwana Lagat, wale ambao wanafanya upelelezi, kama baba ya Ojwang, utawaambia nini?
Mimi nataka niongee kuhusiana na mambo ripoti ambayo nilipata kwa police station ya kwamba ilikuwa ni ya uongo, kutokana na uchunguzi uliotokea leo. Niliambiwa ya kwamba mtoto wangu amejigonga kwenye ukuta. Nauliza swali, huku kwenye makwapa pia unaweza kufika kwenye ukuta huko juu kwa kugongwa? Huku kwenye kishogo na kwa magoti, haya anaweza kufika huko kwenye ukuta huko juu kunakoonekana damu? Habari hizi zinamwendea tunayempenda rais wetu wa nchi hii. Tafadhali mzee wa nchi, tusaidie, nisaidie kama mwananchi anayetoa ushuru pia, na angalia haki kuwatendea wanyonge, sababu boma langu hata ilipigwa picha hata kabla kijana wangu kuondoka. Wakaona kwamba huyu ni mfukara, hawezi kujitetea. Kwa hivyo lolote tunaweza kumfanyia mtoto wake ili kwamba iwe suluhu namna hiyo. Hiyo haibariki. Hiyo ni laana. Hiyo ni laana. Hiyo ni laana. Tusaidie.
Asante na pole sana.